The anime is about a guy named Takebayashi Ryoma who works in an office and has a tough life. He works a lot and gets in trouble with his bosses. His life is not very interesting. However, at some point, Ryoma dies. Thankfully, some powerful gods named Leloucha, Kufo, and Gain decided to give Ryoma a second chance. They made him come back to life in the body of an 8-year-old boy. Not only that, but they also gave him really amazing abilities. Now, the anime starts 3 years after Ryoma arrived in this magical world. Currently, Ryoma survives by living with hundreds of special slimes. These slimes help him in various ways. Some of them can make threads, others have acidic body fluids that can dissolve things, and some can even clean stuff. There are even slimes that can eat garbage and turn it into fertilizer. After coming back to life, Ryoma decided to live peacefully in the forest and study the slimes. One day, while he was walking in the woods, he came across some confused soldiers. They were worried because one of their friends was hurt. Ryoma offered to help them, but the soldiers were suspicious of a boy being in the forest. But Ryoma stayed calm. He showed them a bottle of medicine for their injured friend, and after thinking for a while, they agreed to let him help. Ryoma is really kind-hearted. He gave medicine to the injured man and even invited the soldiers to rest at his house. However, the soldiers were still curious about where Ryoma came from and who he really was. They were even more intrigued when they saw him controlling slimes and making potions all by himself, especially since he lived alone in the forest. Because he couldn't tell them the truth about being reincarnated, Ryoma had to make up a story. He told them that he lived with his grandparents, who had taught him magic. The soldiers seemed satisfied with his explanation and introduced themselves as Camille, Zeph, Jill, and Hughes. They were led by a noble named Reinhard Mo. Then, Camille, who was a mage, used a crystal ball to check Ryoma's background and history. Once again, they were surprised by his abilities and skills, which were considered unusual for a child his age. However, Ryoma had helped them, so Reinhard and his soldiers felt they should do something in return. They decided to go to Ryoma's place to talk to his family about it. Ryoma thought they were nice people, and that made him feel guilty for lying to them. Then, the story goes back to when Ryoma met the 3 gods. Even though they told him he was dead, he didn't seem too upset. His life had been very stressful, so he didn't mind the idea of death. But everything changed when the gods said he died from falling off the bed. Ryoma had faced many challenges in his life, like getting hit on the head with a beer bottle. So it didn't make sense that he would die just from falling off a bed. He felt angry, embarrassed, and offended. However, he calmed down when the gods explained that he would be reborn in a magical world. He felt a strong connection to that world and couldn't help but shed tears of joy. And that's when Ryoma's new life began. Now, back to the present. While Ryoma was relaxing with his many slimes, Reinhard and his soldiers returned, along with some more people. They brought along Reinhard's daughter, Eli, who was the same age as Ryoma, as well as his wife, Elise, and his father, Reinbach Shimo. There were also some family servants with them. Like Reinhard, Reinbach was surprised to see how many slimes Ryoma had. What amazed them even more was that Ryoma could combine the same type of slimes to create big slimes, which was something humans had never been able to do. This ability impressed the Geminal family, who were known as experts in taming monsters. Elise was particularly excited when she saw it. They continued their conversation inside Ryoma's house, where Reinhard gave Ryoma a golden watch as a token of appreciation for his help the other day. But they weren't just there to give him a gift. They also wanted to find a slime for Eli to tame. Ryoma suggested 2 types of slimes for her: scavenger slimes that could eat garbage or cleaner slimes that could even clean the dirtiest clothes, like goblin underwear. Eli decided to go with the cleaner slime. On the same date, Eli, Reinhard, and the guards went out to find the cleaner slime. When it was getting late, Eli finally returned with a targeted slime in her arms. However, once they got back home, the conversation became serious. Elise asked Ryoma about his plans for the future, and they wanted to take him to the next town, Jibble, if he didn't mind. Ryoma had been living comfortably in the forest for the past 3 years, so the idea of exploring the outside world made him a bit nervous. However, Eli reassured him by mentioning the beauty and fun he could find out there. This sparked his curiosity, so he decided to go with them. In the evening, Ryoma packed up his belongings by storing them in a special dimension or item box. After that, he bid farewell to the gods who had been watching over him before setting off on his first adventure the next morning. On the way to Gimel, Ryoma chatted with Gemo's family. He casually mentioned that he was studying healing magic and alchemy. which were rare abilities nowadays. This impressed Eli and Reinhardt even more, although they still didn't know about all of Ryoma's abilities. After some time, their journey was stopped by a big pile of rocks that blocked the only road. This is where Ryoma showed his other skills. First, to stay dry, he wore a raincoat he made using sticky slime liquid, which gave Reinbach a great idea to create waterproof coats. Then he got off the horse carriage to help the guards clear the way. He used compound magic to turn the rocks from the avalanche into blocks that were like a dough. With the help of his slimes, he quickly cleared the path. For all this hard work, he received this. What a lucky guy. Or maybe we should call him a lucky middle-aged man. To make a long story short, after a long journey, Ryoma and the others finally reached their destination. Jimmel's family came to Jimmel to check if the mining operation in the city was still possible. They also took some time to help Ryoma register as a resident in the local church. But as he was about to register, something unexpected happened. His spirit was suddenly transported to the realm of the gods, where he met the trio of gods again. They had called him to congratulate him and share some information. First, they told Ryoma that Gain was the creator of the slimes. But Ryoma had managed to help the slimes evolve into new forms, so Gain wanted to congratulate him for that. Now, the god of war, god of magic, and god of artisan were also interested in Ryoma because of his unique way of living. They also revealed that the ancestor of the Genmo family was a reincarnation, just like Ryoma. This meant that every member of the Genmo family received blessings from the gods, including Eli, who had the strongest connection in the current Genmo family. After explaining all this, they sent Ryoma back to Jimmel. It turned out that he could visit the three gods by going to the church. After registering as a resident, Jimmel's family suggested that Ryoma join a guild to protect himself from people who might try to use his talents. He's really skilled for his age, but there was a problem. Guild members usually tame strong monsters, and since Ryoma only tamed slimes, he didn't qualify. So Reinbach suggested he join the Adventurers Guild as an alternative. To join the guild, he had to pass an archery test to prove his skills. For Ryoma, this was no problem because he had been hunting in the forest for a long time. He could even accurately shoot 4 arrows at once and deflect the examiner's surprise attack. This impressed the examiner, who quickly accepted Ryoma into the guild. Starting at rank G, the lowest rank in the guild, Ryoma took on his first mission as an adventurer, cleaning the house of a cat girl named Mia. Her house was next to a garbage dump, so it naturally smelled bad. The situation got worse when the garbage dump's wall collapsed, filling her house with trash. But Ryoma had scavenger slimes to eat the trash and cleaner slimes to clean up. He also used sticky slimes to seal the hole in the wall. Eventually, Ryoma completed his first mission, and Mia was very happy with the results. When Ryoma returned to the guild after successfully completing his mission, he received rewards and bonuses. The guild master heard about his good work and immediately gave him a new task: cleaning the drains of the public toilets. The city's cleaning budget was cut because of a lack of funds, and the regular cleaners went on strike. So now Ryoma had to take on the cleaning job, and he accepted it without complaining. Later, when he got back to the inn, Ryoma told Gemno's family about the city's budget problems, hoping they could help. Hearing the story, they suspected that there might be embezzlement of funds by the local government. Reinhardt and Reinbach sent their servants to investigate further. The next day, Ryoma began his mission by clearing 1 toilet drain out of a total of 30. However, as he was cleaning with the scavenger slimes, he realized that the sewer was contaminated with miasma, a harmful substance. He went back to the guild, where he happened to meet Jimmo's family. He quickly reported his findings about the miasma to both the guild and Jimmo's family, hoping for their assistance. When they heard this, Jimmo's family became concerned for Ryoma's safety and asked him to stop the mission. But he reassured them that he would be fine, pointing out that he had resistance to various things, including poison. So even though they were still worried, Jimmo's family allowed him to continue the work. That very afternoon, Ryoma went back to the sewer with a group of adventurers: Jeff, Asag D, Leitman, Walana, Mazelia, Cilia, and Mia. His own slimes were increasing, and the ones that could only combine into big slimes before had evolved into king slimes. This made the cleaning process much faster. Still, there were so many toilet drains to clean that it took several days to finish Ryoma's mission. Once again, he successfully completed the job, and the adventurers who were with him congratulated him. As he walked home, feeling exhausted, Ryoma remembered his past life in his previous world. He used to come home in the morning almost every day, and his mother would always greet him with a big smile. That's what motivated him to keep doing his difficult job. But things changed when his mother passed away, leaving a deep wound in Ryoma's heart. After that, no one welcomed him when he came home. However, without him realizing it, he had found a new family that eagerly awaited his return. Seeing Eli, Reinhardt, Elise, and Reinbot waiting for him at home brought tears to his eyes. In this new world, he had found happiness and a loving family. A few days later, Ryoma, the Eli, and Elise went outside to learn how to use magic. Ryoma was now Eli's teacher, and he started the session by showing fireworks magic and creating bubbles that blipped like fish. After that, Eli tried practicing these magics, and while she did that, Ryoma learned how to use attack and defense magic from Camille. He quickly mastered these magics because of the blessings from the gods. However, when the maid tried to teach him dimension home magic, which is used to save living things in a special space, Ryoma struggled with it. It was only in the evening that he finally managed to fully understand the magic. The next day, Ryoma and Jamel's family went to the mines to give Eli some experience in fighting monsters. They were accompanied by guards, and it didn't take long for Eli and Ryoma to encounter their first monster, a praying mantis. Although Eli was a bit nervous at first, she eventually defeated the monster. Ryoma also had to fight 4 monsters at once, but he easily defeated them in close combat. After that, a metallic silver slime unexpectedly appeared, which excited Eli when she saw it. She ran to the slime and caught it. It turned out to be a metal slime. Unlike regular slimes, it was quite heavy and only ate metal. Eli didn't want to keep it as a pet. She gave it to Ryoma as a thank you gift for teaching her magic. When Ryoma found out that his new slime ate metal, he tried alchemical magic to extract iron from the soil. With just one try, he was able to create a lump of iron using his magic. Recognizing Ryoma's talent for coming up with new ideas, Reinbach had a brilliant plan. He introduced Ryoma to a merchant named Serge, who, upon witnessing Ryoma's skills, eagerly agreed to work together in selling Ryoma's creations. What's more, Jamel's family decided to give Ryoma all the money they made from selling the goods. This act of kindness moved Ryoma to tears once again. And so, Ryoma's journey to become an entrepreneur started. The following day, Ryoma continued to experiment with the metal slime, testing how it reacted to poison, sticky liquid, and acid. They found out that the metal slime was scared of acid. But just as Ryoma and Eli were excited about this discovery, Mulia and her group came to invite Ryoma for a monster hunt. They went to the hunting grounds, where there were already many other adventurers, including the guild master. Their mission this time was to hunt 3 types of monsters: praying mantises, bats, and mice. So, Ryoma and his team entered the mine. They kept moving forward and occasionally had to fight monsters. Eventually, they reached a point where thousands of bats were in front of them. Knowing that facing them one by one would be troublesome, Ryoma used a magic he had just learned, a sound bomb. It emitted high-frequency sound waves that instantly killed the bats. With thousands of bat corpses in front of them, Ryoma had his slimes eat them. Their mission was going well. However, when Ryoma and his team left the mine to take a break, the guild master announced that a group of adventurers had been injured by goblins. The worst part was that there were estimated to be over 500 goblins. So the top priority for adventurers now was to get rid of the goblins. They didn't just rush in blindly. They used a strategy. First, they dug a trench in the mine and filled it with acid. Then Celia and Mia lured the goblins out and guided them into the ditch. The goblins fell into the pit, and their bodies dissolved when they came into contact with the acid. However, not all of the goblins were that foolish, and some didn't fall into the trap. So they had to face the remaining goblins head-on, and there were still so many of them that they could overwhelm the adventurers. That's when Ryoma had to step in. He strengthened the adventurers and used sound bomb magic. His attack subdued many goblins, and there were only a few left. Ryoma quickly deployed his slimes to deal with them. The battle between the 2 types of monsters ended with the slimes winning. They thought it was all over, but suddenly, they heard a scream from deeper inside the mine. It was coming from the giant goblins. Ryoma, his slimes, and the other adventurers had to fight again. In the end, they defeated the giant goblins without any casualties among the adventurers. The only problem was that their clothes and bodies were dirty. But Ryoma had a solution. He had the slime cleaners clean them until they were spotless. Maya was so impressed by the cleaner slimes that she suggested Ryoma could make a lot of money by starting a laundry business. Laundry aside, when Ryoma and his team emerged from the mines, they were greeted as heroes. This was because of his healing slime. There were no fatalities in this mission, and everyone thanked Ryoma. He was happy to have been able to help so many people. When Ryoma returned to the inn, he quickly shared his experience of defeating monsters with the Jamo family. He also talked about his decision to leave them. The reason was that he felt his life had become too comfortable. If he stayed that way, he wouldn't grow or become independent. The Jamo family didn't object to his decision, although they were curious about his future plans. Ryoma's answer was that he wanted to start a business. Specifically, he wanted to open a laundry service using cleaner slimes. It seemed that Maya's suggestion had really inspired him. Junno's family allowed Ryoma to follow his dreams, but they set some conditions. First, he had to regularly write to them and update them about his well-being. Second, he had to take care of the mines. Lastly, he needed to stay with them at the inn until the Grold Frog season arrived. Grold Frogs are monsters, and their skin is used to make armor. But what Junno's family really wanted was to catch lemur birds, which often appeared around the same time as Grold Frogs. Ryoma agreed to all these conditions. The next day, he and Eli discussed his plans to start a laundry business with Serge. The merchant was quite intrigued by the idea of using monsters for the business. They went to the Merchant Guild, where all merchants looking to start new businesses had to register. Fortunately, Glycella, the leader of the Merchant Guild, was also interested in Ryoma's idea. She not only approved his guild membership, but also recommended a location for his business. The place Glycella suggested was a damaged building. However, it had a good location near residential areas, which made Ryoma decide to buy it along with the land. Since the building was unusable, Ryoma and his slimes cleaned up the area and constructed a new facility on the land. His friends also helped, and in just a day, they completed the new building for his laundry business. To show his gratitude, Ryoma invited the people who helped him to an opening party. He also visited the church to greet the gods. To his surprise, only Kufo greeted him because the other two gods were in the human world. Gain was attending a music concert, and Lelouchio was busy buying snacks. On the day of the opening party, Serge was the first to show up, and he brought along two young women, sisters named Carl and Callum, who would be working at Ryoma's laundry shop. Ryoma explained their job responsibilities, gave them a price list, and demonstrated how the slimes did most of the work, from washing and ironing to folding clothes. Soon after, the other invited guests started arriving. Ryoma, as the party's host, did a great job. He welcomed them and served delicious food, which made all the guests, especially Mia and Jeff, have a wonderful time at the party. The next day, it was time for the laundry shop to open. Ryoma thought it wouldn't be very busy on the first day, so he went to the guild to promote his laundry business and find a part-time job. But he was wrong. On the very first day, many customers lined up at the shop. They were eager to have their clothes cleaned at Ryoma's laundry, perhaps because they didn't want to do the laundry themselves. Whatever the reason, Ryoma was busy serving the customers. He was so busy that he didn't even realize that Carl and Callum hadn't had a chance to rest. It reminded him of how his previous company treated its employees, and he didn't want to be as harsh. So he hurried to the Merchant Guild and asked Glycella for additional workers. On the second day, Glycella found new potential employees for Ryoma. However, because Ryoma was young, many of the applicants had doubts. One by one, they left the room, and in the end, only two people remained, Faye and his daughter, Ling. Ryoma hired both of them, even though he noticed that Faye had a leg injury. He offered them a place to stay and a fair salary, despite learning that they used to be assassins. With these workers, who could also handle weapons, he could use them as guards. In short, the father and daughter started working at Ryoma's laundry shop. They worked in customer service, and Ling was responsible for delivering clothes. After the shop closed, Ryoma used his slimes to heal Faye's broken leg, and miraculously, he was able to walk again. The good news keeps coming. After checking their earnings on the second day, they saw that they made more money compared to the first day. This made Ryoma realize he needed to hire more workers to prepare for potential busy days. He returned to Glycella and asked her to find 3 new workers and a chef. The chef's role may not seem related to laundry, but he thought it was necessary for the workers' well-being. Glycella was quick to act. The following day, she brought 3 girls to work for Ryoma: Fina, Maria, and Jane. She also found Selma to be the chef. With more workers and increasing customers, the laundry shop's productivity and profits grew. A few days later, Ryoma and Eli were in the mine. The reason they were there was that Serge had asked Ryoma to increase the production of his raincoats in preparation for the upcoming Grold Frog season. If Ryoma could do it, he would make a significant profit. So Ryoma decided to make the raincoats inside the mine to avoid any interruptions. But why was Eli with him, even though she wasn't helping with the raincoats? It was because she wanted to practice playing the violin. It turns out someone needed a beautiful melody to tame the lawn birds. After some time, the clotheslines finally dried. However, at the same time, one of Ryoma's slimes that he had been feeding iron ore to suddenly evolved into an iron slime. Unlike metal slimes that eat various types of metal, iron slime is unique because it only eats iron. After finishing the raincoats, Ryoma went back to his laundry shop. Surprisingly, his workers could handle everything well, even without him. So, instead of being idle, he decided to visit the guild to take on some missions. However, instead of giving him a mission, the receptionist told him about a group that had captured a rare slime. Unfortunately, they couldn't sell the monster despite its rarity because it was just a slime. But for Ryoma, the mention of a rare slime piqued his interest. So he went to the tavern where the group was and offered to buy the rare slime at a high price. The men, who had initially seen down because they couldn't sell the slime, suddenly became excited and gladly sold it to Ryoma. According to his status, the rare slime had a blood red color, which was completely different from his other slimes. Without wasting any time, Ryoma hurried to the mine area to form a contract with the red slime, allowing him to identify it. It turns out that this type of slime is called a bloody slime, which uses blood as its food. This slime can even enter a wound in a monster's body and suck its prey's blood dry. Ryoma felt incredibly fortunate to have acquired such a useful slime for dealing with monsters and beasts. A few days later, the Janul family invited Ryoma and Eli to practice taming magic. Unlike summoning magic, where the practitioner forms a one-sided contract with a target monster, taming magic focuses on building a relationship between people and the monster they want to tame. If people manage to form strong bonds with the monster, they can share information with each other. Ryoma eventually formed a strong bond with the dove, allowing him to share its visual perspective. Although he initially found it strange to see things from a bird's viewpoint, he quickly adapted, thanks to his experience with virtual reality in his previous world. Finally, it's Growl Frog season, and Ryoma joins Jimnil's family to visit the lake and observe the lemur birds. However, many people at the lake were trying to catch Growl Frogs. There was also an adventurer attempting to form a contract with the lemur birds. Unfortunately, the adventurer's flute-playing skills were terrible and dull. Instead of impressing the birds, they attacked the flute-playing adventurer, forcing Ryoma and Camille to intervene. Suddenly, a high-frequency sound wave rang out, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt, except for Ryoma, who had resistance to mental attacks. The source of the attack was the leader of the lemur birds. Thankfully, Ryoma used his magic to silence it, saving everyone from the risk of bursting eardrums. Unfortunately, this caused the flock of birds to fly away. Not wanting to return empty-handed, Ryoma and his companions decided to wait for the birds to return, and eventually they did, even though it was getting dark. Then, Eli began to play her violin. Her violin skills amazed not only the birds but also everyone present. She managed to attract 9 birds at once, including an advanced lemur bird known as the phantom lemur bird. Not to be outdone, Ryoma joined in the effort to attract the birds by playing the guitar, a musical instrument that no one in this world had ever seen before. Everyone, including both people and birds, was captivated by the unfamiliar melody. Ryoma's guitar playing even outdid Eli's performance. While he only managed to attract 5 regular lemur birds, he successfully lured the flock's leader, known as the Vike lemur bird. As night fell, a grand party was thrown to celebrate Ellie's success and bid farewell to Ryoma. With Growl Frog season here, it was time for Ryoma and Jimbo's family to part ways. The festivities continued, but Eli and Ryoma decided to retire to a room. Not for anything inappropriate, but because Eli wanted to give Ryoma a gem necklace as a keepsake to remember her by during their separation. In return, he gave her 2 of his slimes as a token of his friendship. As Ryoma bid farewell to Jumno's family, tears welled up in his eyes. He understood that every meeting eventually leads to parting ways. Despite his sadness, he summoned a smile and wiped away his tears, trying to stay strong in the face of their departure. Remember, life's like a bizarre anime plot twist. You might start as an overworked office drone, but end up with slimes, noble families, and bird-charming guitars. Embrace the weirdness and always carry a pocket full of slimes for emergencies.